ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Tiger Driver Radio. For all things New Japan Pro Wrestling and your random tidbits around the wrestling world. This is your main man, JP, alongside
Juicy J.
And as always, our always faithful and newest team member,
Blue.
Yeah. That's right, Blue.
Got my own theme now.
Man. Every time you come in, Blue's Clues.
That's too good.
What up, guys?
How's it going?
Oh, man.
Pretty good.
You guys don't have the virus?
No,
The
dude.
disease?
You know what's fucking crazy? Okay, for everybody that's out there, you guys, everyone knows that the big thing around the world right now is the whole thing regarding
Coronavirus.
the coronavirus. Now, Saturday night, I'm at my parents' house visiting, and I got a text message from my coworkers, or from one of my coworkers, and I see that they taken some of some basically, I guess, like important people from China that are like military staff or Department of Defense staff members, and they've evacuated them out of China, and they're here at Lackland Air Force Base here in San Antonio being quarantined and studied.
Dang.
So when I heard that, everybody's like freaking out now, and I don't think I think people in San Antonio are aware of this now, and it's kind of annoying because now I'm at work, like if one of us coughs and we're like, oh, do you got the coronavirus? I'm like, will you shut up? Like,
Coming from Japan, my last couple of weeks have been like, wait, is that anywhere near China? I'm like, no, it's a different island. It was like, I don't have to.
We're not even on the same continent.
It's like it's way farther. Yeah, but there was like 2 outbreaks over there. I was like, well, there's just as many here, so nobody's safe. Yeah,
it's like 28 days later or something. It's gonna be full of zombies or
that's interesting.
kind of creatures. Something's crazy's gonna happen.
Yeah, right.
We'll see. They'll find a cure.
I mean, bad thing is I kind of live close to that base right here.
I mean, you're right here, and I work there.
Yeah.
No.
So if I'm gonna get infected, it's gonna be me first, you second, Blue third.
Yeah.
Yikes! I'm immune to it.
But imagine how those people would feel with just like dealing with that and just seeing some guy in just a suit.
Yeah, because I saw a video,
hazmat suit, and just
there was a video where like
crazy.
people were getting off of a plane, in the airfield here.
Yeah.
And they have hazmat suits, just like you said, and they have these weird spray things where they're just spraying them down.
That's crazy.
It's nuts, dude. It's
not a movie.
Yeah, and I'm like,
It's funny that Kenta mentioned it though.
Yeah, Kenta.
What?
Yeah, okay.
Kenta
Funny
mentioned
thing is to kind of segue into this week's coverage of New Japan. Kenta, like in his backstage promos, kind of was talking about like he didn't really say the coronavirus.
Uh-huh.
He just said like, be sure people out there to wash your hands and to get rid of all your germs because you should be washing your hands. That's how you avoid the spread of illness. So it was just funny how he just kept like talking about you need to wash your hands, people. Like seriously.
Oh man, crazy.
And what's crazy is that like a lot of these viruses tend to happen because of lack of cleanliness or regard of like safety, health violations. Because according to this, now we're getting really off topic, so I'll come back. But according to what they're saying is that it apparently, the coronavirus comes from a place called Wuhan in China, and it's an open air market. And the thing is, there's a lot of cross contamination of live animals, dead animals being sold in the market, and people eating out there. And they say, I keep hearing rumors that it goes back to the thing called bat soup. It's like you eat a bat. It's like a bat that's suspended over soup. Looks gross. I've seen it. Go look it up. Google it, people. Yeah, but shouldn't you not eat bat? I mean, bats inherently have diseases from birth. Some of them do, right?
I don't know. They're like pigeons.
Yeah, which I'm sure some pigeons have like diseases when upon birth.
But looking at National Geographic, people eat all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, man. But just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
But then again, some parts of the world, but I'm not going to even say like, oh, some parts of the world don't have an option. No, China, they have options. It is a modern country.
Yeah.
It's very fucking modern. I've been there maybe for like a day or two, but they got options. You don't need to eat bat. Like you got mad chickens there. Like just eat chicken. Like you don't need. I'm not saying I'm not insulting anybody's culture if that's your thing. I'm just saying that like maybe there's certain things you should avoid, like because they're inherently bad for you. It's kind of like in Japan they eat fugu, or some people eat fugu, the poison fish.
Oh yeah.
And thing is, you got to know how to properly cut it so that way you don't contaminate the good part of the meat with the rest of the poison ink.
Mhm.
Why would you do that? That's such a risk.
Yeah.
And they say that if you eat the meat that's contaminated, your body will go into like seizures. You'll go into shock because it's like a toxic type ink
Yeah.
that this blowfish has. Why risk it?
Is that the one from The Simpsons? The one with
Yeah. It's loosely based off that. Yeah. Yeah, but it's a real thing, man. Like you got to know how to cut where. Yeah, like oh, dude,
That's
no,
crazy.
that's insane.
Yeah,
You
I mean,
know?
but some rare stuff is supposed to be like, like fancy eating. Like for example, like lobster, they said that it was like people before would think it was gross because they're just bottom feeders.
It's
But
true.
then later it became like a
Delicatessen, yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. You know, it's
Yeah,
kind of
nah,
like
I don't know.
you don't want to fuck with bad foods because you never know with what will happen.
Mhm.
Just like, and we'll talk about this later. Why would Orange Cassidy agree to a match with Minoru Suzuki? Like, why would you want to do that to yourself? Like,
I'm interested to see how that's gonna work.
yeah. For those of you who are unfamiliar, ladies and gentlemen, WrestleMania. We are now in WrestleMania season. Irregardless, the wrestling industry does kind of start making their moves around what happens in accordance with WrestleMania. It's going to be held in Tampa, Florida this year, and I think one of the more fun aspects of WrestleMania weekend is the fact that you have all these independents and other promotions internationally that will do special shows surrounding Sunday. And one of the things that I'm looking forward to a lot of different matches, and we'll get to that later. But one of the things that I'm looking forward to is New Japan Pro Wrestling's very own Minoru Suzuki will face off against AEW's freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy at Joey Janela's spring break. And just like I would never eat bat soup or fugu because it's too dangerous, why would Orange Cassidy want to wrestle against one of the most dangerous men in pro wrestling and MMA ever?
Yeah, he's gonna get squeezed.
Why would you want to do that?
That's
Whoever, and I know Joey Janela is behind the booking of this, which is hilarious. So I can't even imagine what's going to happen.
Yeah, just completely squeezed.
It's crazy because it's like, okay, Joey Janela's spring break is Friday.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The night before, it's Chris Dickinson versus Minoru Suzuki, which is going to be hard hitting and brutal. And you go from that. Oh, basically, you're going to have a war.
Yeah.
And then you go from that to fighting Orange Cassidy. It's like, why would you sign your own death warrant, sir?
Yeah. I want to see how Suzuki reacts to him.
Basically, he
Yeah.
is Orange Cassidy is basically eating bat soup in pro wrestling terms.
Fugu.
He's eating fugu. He's going to poison himself and die.
Oh man.
Yeah, man. But on that note, man, there's a lot of interesting news for New Japan Pro
New
Wrestling, man. So let's get to it.
Let's do it.
教えてよ人はなぜ探し続けるの限りなく切ない明日の夢を
Oh yeah, Suzuki theme for you, man.
Exactly, man.
What's the thing that everybody screams like?
Kaze ni nare.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Which, speaking of Suzuki, like I said, this week they've definitely been kind of slowly building up between his match against John Moxley that will happen in Osaka this weekend.
Yeah.
This Sunday morning for us in the United States. And they've done such a great job of basically allowing them to shine in these tag matches. Like I thought it was so cool to see to basically see like Okada and John Moxley, two top baby faces in wrestling who are polar opposite of each other, team up against Tai Chi and Minoru Suzuki, which we'll get to Tai Chi in a minute because I have so much praise for him in this tour.
Yeah.
But the kind of just violence that him and Suzuki have portrayed in these tag matches is perfect.
They're never in the ring the whole
They're
match.
never in the ring. They're just kicking the shit out of each other outside, like throwing guardrails at each other, hitting each other with chairs, biting each other, choking each other. Like I'm excited to see what kind of chaos is going to ensue when they finally have their proper match this Sunday.
Yeah, and I think in their first match, I think Moxley actually ate the pin from Suzuki. I think.
Yeah,
Is that right? never get old. No, yeah, I think Moxley ate the pin. I was surprised. I thought Tai Chi or somebody else, or maybe even Okada, but no.
Like
Keeping
Moxley.
them hyped.
One thing I've noticed about Moxley is that Moxley is not above putting other people over.
Mhm.
He's not. He's definitely one that wants to put people over, and also tell a good story. And I think with this match with Suzuki, it's definitely a good story. You could have had this match for next year's Wrestle Kingdom, in all honesty, but hey, we're getting it now. I mean, I'm just as happy as as anyone else. But man, just the kind of violence that these two are capable of. Maybe I'm hyping it up too much in my mind, but I hope it becomes a war on Sunday. It already has like little hints that it's going to be, because the entire time they've just been kicking the shit out of each other.
The kiss of death?
Yeah, the kiss of death. Yeah, backstage during comment on one of the dates, Suzuki was out, talking, doing the press conference in the back. Moxley comes in, starts talking trash. They start elbowing each other, and then in the middle of the match, he's like, "This is what I think of you, buddy," and he grabs Suzuki's head, kisses him in the forehead, and then Suzuki looks at him like, "Did you just kiss me, man?" And then like punches him, and then kicks him down, and then they had to get separated, and it was just chaos, and it was just so crazy, these two. So I'm really excited to see this, and I really hope they allow these two to really go at it.
Yeah, that's why they put him with Chaos, because he's just infused with chaos.
So he's to Chaos. Yeah, but every member of Chaos is like the most chill person. Like that's the thing. It's funny. Like that name is Chaos because nobody's really crazy in Chaos. I'm trying to think.
All the crazy
Yoshihashi.
God, I'm gonna pretend you didn't say that. and then to kind of transition from this, and then to talk about Okada and Tai Chi, they had the tag match on the first night of the tour, on the televised tour portion of the tour.
Mm-hmm.
And Tai Chi just beat the living shit out of Okada to the point it's like, wow, he might actually go over in their singles match. And I gotta say, man, like I have been so impressed this past year and a half, going on 2 years, that Tai Chi has really stepped up his game. And I think at some point soon, he definitely needs a proper title run with a bigger title. He's such a perfect heel champion. I think it works for itself.
And he was actually, that was his hometown in Sapporo. So they were in Sapporo for both nights, I think.
Yeah.
And the crowd loves him there because he's from there.
Yeah.
And yeah, both nights they love Rainmaker too, but Tai Chi also got like a pretty loud ovation being from that being his hometown.
And he was doing stuff that he hadn't done before, like drop kicks.
Yeah, like he hit Okada with a Rainmaker style drop kick.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing his kicks. He did a spin kick at one point, I believe.
Yeah.
Those things always look brutal.
Yeah, like it's almost as if like Tai Chi is kind of like, he's definitely channeling what Kawada has taught him. Kawada from All Japan Pro Wrestling from back in the 90s. If you look at the way he wrestles, it's like, man, you've really like plagiarized Toshiaki Kawada's style of wrestling back, in the 90s, but he's combined it with all these heel tactics, and it works so beautifully. So I was really surprised that they allowed him to kind of dominate Okada on that night. And it just further reiterates that I think Tai Chi deserves a lot more opportunities than he's given, especially at this point.
Yeah. I think they're building him up for something. Hopefully, maybe in the New Japan Cup, you'll see something come out.
Hopefully, but last year it seemed like they were going to do that, and then they pulled back again.
They pulled back,
and like, oh no, why'd you do that? He was right there.
He was hot.
Yeah, he had an amazing match with Tomohiro Ishii in the G1 last year. Like another favorite that I think got overlooked a little bit.
Yeah,
but I think Tai Chi is ready. Like, give him something. He might not be the top draw, the top guy, but I think he's definitely the perfect antagonist.
Maybe he'll be. I mean, because I'm a big Naito fan. I think he's going to be the one that takes the IC belt away from him.
I think that's a perfect idea,
because he's the one that kind of instigated that whole thing that got Naito into Wrestle Kingdom, anyways. So he's kind of the de facto guy to put it to. But I don't know. I mean, that's just me fantasy booking.
You're my boy, bro.
No, I mean, I completely agree. And like I said, just that first night with the tag match, we'll talk in a little bit about their singles match, but their tag match, I have to say that, Tai Chi is somebody that I think needs to be pushed. And I've been saying that for a very long time.
Yeah, he's my hero.
Is he?
Yeah,
Why?
Tai Chi's the best.
Why is he the best?
Because we just talked about it. Yeah, he's amazing.
Okay.
Like,
But
he's
why
the best
hero? That's a bold statement, sir.
Because he's evil.
He's evil? No, evil is evil.
He's a super villain. He's
He's
like a super villain.
Super villain. Like a good-looking, handsome super villain who can sing very well.
I feel like the crowd should sing along to the song or something just to get hyped when he's coming in.
I think they should too. I don't know why they don't.
I would if I knew what it was saying, but I don't know. You guys want to look at the rest?
If I'm able to go to, if we're able to pull this Wrestle Kingdom thing off next year, I think I should cosplay as Tai Chi.
Dude, there was a lot of cosplayers out there. I wish I would have taken more photos. There was Hiromu's, there was Bushi's, there was a Shinsuke Nakamura and a Hiroshi Tanahashi. They looked pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah, I wish I would have taken pictures of them, but yeah. So you should do Tai Chi,
Dude, absolutely do Tai Chi. Tai Chi's the man.
I always feel weird asking people, like cosplayers, this is off subject again, but asking cosplayers for like pictures or like, to take a photo with them.
I know. I go to a lot of like anime conventions and conventions in general, and I'm the same way. I just feel weird, but I think it's like I see it as a way of introducing. Like if you don't know where they're from, it's a way of introducing yourself to that show or that wrestler. And I think they like getting the photos. I think it's part of the reason they do it. And just be like, hey, can I get a pic?
Yeah, it's just me. I guess it's because I'm also weird with if I see wrestlers like out and about, like it's also get really nervous asking them like, hey, can I talk to you?
See, it's not even, I don't get nervous so much. It's more so like I just don't want to fucking bother you.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah, it depends on the situation. Like if you're in a convention and you're dressing up as something in a convention, I'm asking you for a picture. I'm not asking you for anything else. So I think that's okay. But if it's a wrestler walking down the street, like in Dallas, I ran into Sonata, but he was just coming out of his autograph signing that you had to pay to be in. And I'm like, okay, he probably doesn't want he probably is not going to give me a free picture here because he just came out of his signing. Yeah. And I was like, that's fine. So I didn't bug him and he just went on his way. And then somebody asked him for a picture and they said no. And I'm like, okay, prevented that awkward communication. Somebody else was my sheep.
Yeah. So it's all right. Sacrificial lamb. There
Sacrificial lamb. That's
But no, I mean, I totally get it. I'm kind of just, I'm not even nervous. I'll ask anybody. I don't care. I just don't want to bother you.
Would you ask somebody like Shingo?
Yeah, absolutely.
For talk to him and stuff?
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I'd be scared.
Why? He's just scary. He's just a person.
I follow him on Instagram. He always takes these cool pictures where he's like praying in front of a shrine. There's a million shrines in Japan. Yeah. And he always takes a picture of a new shrine and he's like doing this little dragon thing. And I'm like, that's fucking cool. That's badass. I like following these guys on Instagram. They have interesting lives.
You're gonna have to check that out.
Absolutely. Speaking of, Shingo Takagi, he main evented, the first night of the televised tour. And one thing I got to say, and this is kind of like a plus about New Japan, is that they find a way to showcase every title and give them a chance to main event cards. Even though obviously the IWGP heavyweight title is like the title to have.
Yeah.
The fact that they showcased the never openweight title as a main event, like basically every title will get showcased as a bit of importance at some point, which I really enjoy. And it allows basically to elevate the importance of that title. With that being said, Goto, who has been honestly synonymous with this title, I think 5 times?
Yeah.
5-time never openweight champion. He basically went on one-on-one against Shingo Takagi. Amazing back and forth match. Shingo, of course, using his just power, his sheer power. And also, bold statement, I think Shingo Takagi does the GTR better than Goto. Yeah, I felt like his GTR was more savage. Like just when he hits that GTR on Goto and off the second rope, which I thought was amazing.
Yeah, he also called it's his GTR now. What was it? The Great Takagi Revolution.
Great Takagi Revolution. Yeah, which he'll pawn you. He'll kind of lay you off of the second rope, kind of like an Orton hanging DDT, but in reverse. And then he'll slam you over his knee instead of just doing it in the middle of the ring.
Yeah.
So it looks super cool.
More devastating. Yeah.
It looks more devastating. Also, Takagi has like the most savage clotheslines, I think.
The pumping bomber.
Pumping bomber.
I love that. Every time he pulls that off.
Oh, absolutely. But of course, he was able to pull off winning the never openweight championship,
and which makes calling them the Shingo 2 belts.
Shingo 2 belts. Basically, that means what did they say? They said that now he is he is the second man in New Japan that's a double champion right now because he's also never open weight 6-man champion.
Yeah.
And also that basically means that LIJ owns 62% of all titles in New Japan Pro Wrestling. The only titles they don't have are the US title
Tag titles.
and the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team titles.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Well,
Oh,
and
and
the
British-
junior heavyweight and the
No, they own the
Yeah.
junior heavyweight. Hiromu.
Hiromu and who? So, no, the junior heavyweight tag.
Okay,
titles.
yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that's Roppongi 3K.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So like
so-
they pretty much own like almost 75% of the titles in the company under one faction, which is super impressive.
Yeah.
It's the LIJ era.
It is the LIJ area. I think the past couple of years it was obviously a very Bullet Club driven era.
Yeah.
I still think Bullet Club needs to kind of be killed off and made into something
Made
else.
something up. Yeah, it's just seeing the reception when I was there, it's like it's just fallen off from where it used to be. Even with Jay White's great, Kenta's good, but it's just kind of fallen.
I think they're both great, but make it into something else. It only
Yeah.
makes sense at this point.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm pretty sure maybe they only keep it around because it does still sell merchandise. I mean, it is a badass looking logo at the end of the day. You know, I mean, how many people buy Misfits shirts, but how many people are actually Misfits fans? You know,
That's so true.
it's a badass looking logo, but how many people actually have listened to the Misfits? You know, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of posers out
I
there.
saw a post somewhere. I think it was like the Misfits shirt has become the live, love, laugh of rock or of music.
Pretty much
And I'm
from the
like,
live, love, laugh of music.
Oh man, that's too good.
Absolutely. And then of course we go to the second night. Am I correct?
Yeah. Second night.
Second night of the tour. Also,
February 2nd.
second night of the tour in Sapporo, and man, just awesome. Let me also just say, man, we haven't really highlighted the young lions very much. I still think Yota Tsuji now has a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Like he has potential, he has presence. I just think he needs something.
Yeah.
Like there was something that Ren Narita had that was special. There was something that Shota Umino had that was special.
Yeah.
With Yota Tsuji, I still feel like
With his charisma and his personality, I can't even say that word. Personality.
Yeah.
I like it better than. I would prefer him more than Uemura. Like Uemura, even though he's great in the ring, I don't like him. I'm more entertained with Tsuji just looking at his faces.
Yeah, he to me, I mean, I didn't get to see a lot of his match with Hinara, but he looks like way too old to be. Maybe it's the beard. And the hair.
It's absolutely the beard.
Yeah, because the other young lions, they look like younger. This guy looks like he's
An old man.
yeah.
Absolutely. And the funny thing is that if you go all the way back and watch Okada as a young lion, he definitely looks super young back in the late 2000s. And then when he came back from Excursion, he had kind of like a beard going on a little bit.
Mhm.
And he kind of his old ring gear kind of looked like Goto a little bit.
Oh yeah.
And at that time, like having that beard aged him. Like Okada looked old for a minute. It's like, what the hell? And then eventually, he went back on a second excursion. He went back on a longer excursion, came back and, had the blonde hair and the clean cut and everything, which perfect. But yeah, like some wrestlers, man, when they have beards, it's like Jay White, even though he has a big beard, you can still tell he's young.
Yeah.
Looks better with the beard.
I think he looks more like a proper heel with the beard.
Yeah.
Mhm. Then clean cut. Yeah.
And Nakanishi. These guys are going hard on Nakanishi. Like speaking of young lions, it seems like young lions, whenever they start off, the veterans are really hard on them so they can learn. But when you're on your way out, they're the same thing. They're doing the same thing to you.
Oh, you're talking about in terms of Manabu Nakanishi.
Yeah, in his retirement.
Yeah, absolutely. Which there was another match. Like I said, another thing that they're featuring on this tour is that this is pretty much Nakanishi's last leg of his career in the ring. After that, I don't know if he'll work in the front office or take a chill pill. I don't know what he was going to do, but he is retiring at the end of the month. And yeah, you're right. Like they're not letting him retire easy. They're like hitting him with stiff clotheslines. Like Tiger Mask hit him with a few stiff kicks. Like I was like, God damn! Like, do you hate this guy? Like you were like, where was this fire last year? Like now suddenly you want to like kick the shit out of him. And that's what they're doing, man. They're like beating his ass.
Yeah, I felt a little bad for the guy.
And the thing is, Nakanishi, I mean, I think he is tragically underrated, and you wouldn't know it now because he moves a lot slower. His knees are shot. he doesn't move like he did. But I remember seeing Nakanishi in like 99, 2000, 2001. And man, he had a badass spear back then, like super savage spear, had long hair, had very long hair. And now he just shaved it. And, he was always big, but it's just a little unfortunate that like who you see now is a mere shadow of what he was back then when he was wrestling the likes of like, Masahiro Chono and Shinya Hashimoto, towards like the end of that golden era.
Yeah, I heard something Kevin Kelly said on commentary. I haven't checked it out, but he said that online he eats like these big meals and on Instagram, I think it was.
Yeah,
I have to check
the Monster Morning.
Yeah,
Kevin Kelly does that, or Nakanishi?
Nakanishi was
not
Kevin Kelly was talking about it. But
I mean, Kevin Kelly's a big guy, but I don't think he could handle that. Like, yeah, dude. Like, I think it's on Twitter, man. You go on Nakanishi. That's why if you look at his T-shirt for merch, it's called Nakanishi Monster Morning.
Yeah.
And every morning he eats a gigantic fucking breakfast, and that's how he starts his day. He eats a shit ton of protein, and then he lifts super heavy, which you could totally tell.
Yeah.
That he lifts mega heavy. But yeah, like the Monster Morning, man, he just eats like ridiculous amounts of fucking eggs and sausage and
I have to check that.
Yeah, go look that up. The Monster Morning Breakfast, man. It'll make you sick.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot of fucking food, dude.
I mean, breakfast food is good, so
It is good.
Like those crazy tacos you can make. Especially here in San Antonio, that everybody talks about tacos.
Tacos are
here.
life, man.
Where I used to live, it was just about burritos. Man, why are we talking about food again? Are we just hungry?
Dude, I'm not gonna lie.
Hungry.
I'm not gonna lie, dude. I am actually very hungry.
But speaking of hungry, what about this new guy, Gabriel Kid?
Gabriel Kid, who was another new young lion.
Yeah.
Who had a decent showing against El Phantasmo. Of course, El Phantasmo pinned him, with the frog splash. Gabriel Kid looks good. Yeah. He looks good. I think what is he? Is he a byproduct of the Fale Dojo? Am I correct?
Yeah, and he's also already been around. I mean, that's what they said on commentary.
They said that he has faced El Phantasmo before.
Yeah.
So that's got to be a really interesting aspect of being a young lion, is that whether you come from somewhere else, whether you came from the Indies or another promotion, you come to New Japan and they feel that you need to still be a young lion to prove yourself.
Yeah.
The fact that you go from doing your own moves and having a personality to having that all stripped and just going back to basics. Oh, and I stand corrected from Wrestle Geek. He was on WCPW, What Culture Pro Wrestling, which was, based out of England, which we do have some What Culture news later on in the newscast. We'll get to that in a little bit later.
What's up, Wrestle Geek?
Absolutely. What's up, man? But yeah, like he sounds promising. He looks amazing. But it's got to be interesting, like to go from like I said, you have a personality, you have some experience, and then you got stripped down a bit. No, start from basics. You get 5 moves, you master those 5 moves, and then we'll talk.
Yeah.
That's got to be humbling.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do that.
I mean, it's just
forget everything else,
Yeah, no, I mean, you got to like deprogram yourself, a little bit.
Like instincts and stuff, like certain moves, you just can't do that.
Yeah. And then we had another match. Well, several tag team matches, or 3 ways, 6 ways, different members of LIJ versus
LIJ versus Bullet Club,
yeah.
Which is really interesting and fun to watch. It's always fun when you see like faction warfare between these organizations, especially with LIJ and Bullet Club, which I think at this point, like I said, Bullet Club might be the less popular of the two now, but you can't deny that Bullet Club and LIJ are the 2 most popular factions, maybe ever, in New Japan history, especially in the modern era of the past like 5 to 6 years.
Yeah,
and,
LIJ era.
Absolutely. And then, of course, we had, of course, Ospreay against Zack Sabre Jr., and it's exactly what I expected it to be. Ospreay trying to match up with Sabre Jr. with his submission. Of course, Sabre is always going to outclass anybody in submission style wrestling. Ospreay tried his best to like utilize his high impact offense. Zack just seemed to have a counter for everything. At the end of the day, had him in what was like kind of like a neck crank, and the referee had to stop the match because Ospreay passed out.
Yeah,
and boom, Ospreay did not take the Rev Pro title, but they have signed on for a rematch at your call at Rev Pro's High Stakes, which is going to be super exciting. I'm stoked.
On Valentine's Day.
On Valentine's Day. So for those of you that are fans of Rev Pro and want a continuation of this rivalry, go watch Rev Pro's High Stakes on Valentine's Day.
That'd be a good date. Like,
I gotta ask my girlfriend if she's like, hey, do you want to watch Rev Pro with me?
Rev Pro and chill.
Rev Pro and
Rev
chill.
Oh man, yeah, that was a fun match.
Basically, touch my body and chill. Oh man! And then after that, of course, the main event: Okada versus Tai Chi.
Mhm.
They went 30 minutes, which even though Tai Chi lost,
Mhm.
he looked extremely strong in this match. Like he went move for move against Tai Chi until like maybe the last 2 minutes of the match. It was very even. Part of me was even shocked that they let Tai Chi shine as strong as he did.
Yeah.
I was, because usually, I mean, Okada will make other guys look good, but you kind of know, like, okay, Okada's going to win this. But there was a small moment where I was like, wait a minute, Tai Chi might actually pull this off. Like, it might be a shock upset, but he didn't. But the thing is, like, for a while, like, you started to kind of like tilt the other way, like, oh shit, especially Tai Chi hitting a lot of his stiff kicks, man. He was just stiffing the hell out of Okada the whole time.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what I said 2 years ago of what we need to see from Tai Chi. Clearly, Tai Chi can go. If this doesn't convince the front office that he can go, I don't know what will.
Yeah. It made me emotional.
Yeah. Somewhere throughout the Sapporo show, they announced because of the Olympics, they're during the summer they're going to have basically a tour throughout Hokkaido, that the not the main island but the third island in Japan, which is Sapporo. That's all Tai Chi's kind of area because he's from there. So I'm interested if they're going to do something for him there again.
It might even be like a big push for him.
Yeah, right there. Because you know how they're moving the G1 and everything because of the Olympics. I think they announced that tour. It's like 12 days all through Hokkaido, which is pretty awesome.
Okay, we got a question from Dreadnor928. Does my girlfriend like wrestling? Actually, yes, she does. She very much likes wrestling. Shout out to Cecilia. I know you're listening. But but yeah, no, she absolutely loves wrestling. Her favorite wrestler is Chris Jericho, Le Champion. Le Champion. So yes, if she, unfortunately we have a bit of a long distance relationship. She lives far away from me, but if she was closer, she would absolutely watch Rev Pro with me. That is a fact.
Stream it together.
You know, Rev Pro and chill. Want to touch my body, baby? But yeah, like I said, just to kind of go back, I hope, and I think that's really observant of you, is the fact that during the time when the Olympics are going on, they're going to, instead of touring the mainland, they're going to be touring Hokkaido up north.
Yeah,
that's where Tai Chi is from, and maybe he'll get a big push then.
Yeah,
maybe if he'll get it, because that's around the time where the G1 would typically originally start. Who knows? Maybe we'll see a big title change during that time. Yeah, it'll make the G1 even more interesting.
Yeah, I'm definitely rooting for Tai Chi, and I think he's slowly getting people behind. Even though he's a heel and he did all this heel stuff, like he uses Miho as a shield and low blows people, but it's cool. That's real heelish of him, and that's Suzuki going through and through, right? They do whatever they need to do.
Absolutely. And then here's another interesting fact, like to kind of caveat off of that, is that I also think with Shingo Takagi also holding 2 belts and having such an amazing last year and starting so strong this year, I feel like they're doing a slow burn with Shingo. And I think within the next 2 years, Shingo will be IWGP Heavyweight Champion within the next 2 years. I think right now it's a slow build. Like he was dominant as a junior heavyweight, did okay in the G1, became never open weight, became never open. He also became IWGP Junior Tag Champs earlier last year.
Yeah.
So he's pretty much collecting belts. And he hasn't been in the company for more than, I think, 2 years at this point. I think it's just barely 2 years. So for me, I think they're slowly building Shingo Takagi as well. Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised in the next 2 years he will be in contention for the IWGP Heavyweight title.
I seriously think with what you just said, there's going to be some serious turmoil in LIJ
eventually
in these couple of years, because you have all these top guys.
Yeah,
like Shingo and Sonata and Hiromu and of course Naito. Like, what are you going to do with all of them they're going to have to face each other eventually.
At some point, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Which it'll make it very interesting. Whether they break them up, I don't think so, because like I said, I still think the LIJ thing is on fire. And like I said, it's kind of taken over what the Bullet Club used to be.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but it is interesting. Like, what are you going to do? Because you essentially have like almost your entire faction is nothing but top guys.
Yeah.
You know, Hiromu, top guy. Naito, top guy. Sonata, getting ready to break through. Shingo, also getting ready to break through.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'll make it for very interesting wrestling and a very interesting matches. And then what's also interesting on this night as well, when they had Chaos versus Suzuki-gun, you know, he had Tai Chi, Sabre Jr., Desperado, and Kanemaru against Sho, Yo, Will Ospreay, and Okada. Even though Ospreay lost the previous night, he beat Zack Sabre Jr. in the tag match with the Stormbreaker, which I think eventually leads for his rematch into Rev Pro.
To
On
Rev Pro and
Valentine's.
chill.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like these elimination matches because you could eliminate them off the top rope. I always thought that's a cool spin on things. You just not the pin and
You don't have to
submission.
eat a pin. Yeah.
Yeah, you just throw them off the top rope. I thought I always like that concept when they do that in New Japan.
What?
When they throw them off the top, like in this elimination match, that you could beat them just by throwing them off the top rope.
Yeah, it is interesting. It makes it for a lot more like things to go fast and quick.
Yeah.
You know, I always like elimination tag matches. That's why I was always a big fan of the original Survivor Series concept.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which was always fun to watch. But like I said, everything has been booked very strong for these this tour leading up to this Sunday. And
oh man, Sunday's gonna be sick.
Sunday, I'm super excited. You know, because of course you have we've I don't know how we overlooked this. You know, slowly but surely we're building up to that Naito versus Kenta match, which Kenta is just getting so much hate from these crowds. Like these crowds just want nothing to do with him. And his backstage promos have been so phenomenal. Like I said, I think it's something that was unfortunately because of the language barrier, you couldn't WWE could never utilize them the way that they truly should have.
Yeah.
And they were never going to. But him being back in New Japan and being able to kind of revive his career to the point where he's probably the most hated guy in Japanese wrestling right now.
Yeah, even when he's going up to the ring, a lot of people are flipping him off.
Which Japanese fans don't do that. You know?
Yeah, everybody usually just sitting still, and then he gets out there, and everybody just.
It'll be fun because Osaka's one of the rowdiest crowd, if not the rowdiest crowd in Japan.
Yeah, you can kind of compare Osaka because you can compare Osaka to like an ECW Philadelphia crowd. Like they will like let you know what sucks and what's great and what they like and what they don't like. And I remember when I've been in Osaka for a day, and even though I didn't know much, I could tell that they definitely had a different like fuck you attitude compared to the rest of Japan. Even compared to Tokyo, and Tokyo is the big city.
Yeah.
But yeah, Osaka they have a different nature about them.
Love it.
I loved it though. I really dig it. Absolutely.
Let's break down the card real quick for Sunday.
First Sunday, man. Of course, this Sunday will also feature the last and final match of Manabu Nakanishi. Hopefully, don't fucking murder him because they've been kicking the shit out of him this final tour. So it'll feature Manabu Nakanishi and Hiroshi Tenzan, Satoshi Kojima, and Yuji Nagata against the team of Ryusuke Taguchi, Toa Henare, Tomoaki Hanma, and Togi Makabe. Pretty much every last one of these people are second and third generation New Japan Pro Wrestling, with the exception of Henare, which I think Henare has even said that he's kind of been under Manabu Nakanishi's like learning tree. So I think that's pretty cool that they allowed him to be, one of the last people in a tag match, which it'll be pretty awesome to see that.
And they're bringing back Kojima and Nagata because I think they were in the New Beginning USA tour, so they're bringing those cats back. Yeah.
Absolutely. Which I thought that was really cool that they brought, people, other stars, for the American tour. Because for me, even though, of course I want to see the Okadas and Tanahashis and Kota Ibushis, it was really cool for me, like I got into Japanese wrestling around the time when Tenzan and Kojima were like in their prime, when they were young men, So I remember seeing them as a dominant tag team, and they were as Tenkoji. Yeah. And they were amazing. And then of course, another match on this card, on this stacked, card. This card is absolutely stacked. The IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team match of Sho and Yo in their first defense against longtime rivals of Yoshinobu Kanemaru and El Desperado. I say Sho and Yo retain. That's my prediction.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, they just won the belts, so I kind of agree with that.
Yeah, they're not. I don't think they're going to give that up too easily.
Even though Kanemaru and Desperado are great, but Yeah,
Mhm.
we'll see. Should be a good match though.
It should be an absolute like banger. I mean, they never disappoint.
I know you said, JP, that you're kind of getting tired of this already
What?
because they keep having rematches and rematches.
Yeah, I feel like there needs to be a little bit of a mix up in the junior tag division,
Mhm.
but for what it is, it's going to be entertaining.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then of course, I hope this is true. Kota Ibushi is making a comeback this Sunday.
Yeah.
He's apparently been cleared by doctors, and he'll be teaming up with Tanahashi, Dave Finlay, and Juice Robinson against Chase Owens, God, and Yujiro Takahashi, which on this American tour, God beat Finn Juice and basically for another, they got the IWGP heavyweight tag belts back.
Mhm.
They got those belts back, which I was shocked to see a title change on an American tour. Usually you don't see something that momentous happen, but it did.
Yeah.
In Nashville, no less.
Yeah. They're going for a lot of shock moments with this and also with the Marty Scurll thing. So they're trying to different
I
things,
really
yeah.
think they're really
But-
trying to capture people's attention, and
Yeah.
good on them,
Yeah.
as they should. Which I'm also super stoked to see that Marty Scurll will come back, and the fact that he's going against Jay White at Supercard of Honor around Mania weekend
Yeah.
leads me to believe that I think Marty Scurll from here on out will now be trying himself as a heavyweight, which is awesome. I know the
Yeah.
last time he tried to go against Okada at All In,
Yeah.
and it got his ass handed to him.
Yeah, I like how the build up for All In was just like, oh, it's you're heavyweight.
I'm like, oh, you're a heavyweight now, huh? Like,
it was just like,
even Okada
Forgot about that.
even Okada did the whole this little finger gesture to him where he just with his fingers did 205.
oh,
Yeah.
It's like 205 live, which was brilliant. And then of course this weekend we have a special tag match, which should be a last bit of a preview for all four of these men. Ospreay and Okada, awesome tag team when they do, against Sabre Jr. and Tai Chi. I expect that to be hard hitting. And of course, a little bit of a companion piece towards their final match when they have it in England, pretty much 5 days after.
Rev Pro and Chill.
But then there's Sonata against Jay White, and it should be interesting. We'll see how this goes. I think this rivalry needs to kind of come to an end at this point. I think they've done everything they can with Sonata and Jay White, and Sonata needs to move on to something else, whatever that is. I don't know.
Yeah.
Perhaps Sonata will. Maybe this will start the inner turmoil where he'll maybe challenge for the never open weight title in the coming months.
Yeah, there's so much they can do with both these guys because they have all the never open weight, the US belt, and somebody's got to challenge either Moxley or Suzuki afterward.
Absolutely, and I feel like Sonata is one of those stars that they need to pull the trigger with now. Like you got to do something with him because he is also on fire right now. Absolutely, and then the sixth match. These two men, I never ever get tired of seeing wrestle, but I am scared. Hiromu Takahashi in his first defense since winning, the IWGP Junior Heavyweight back and taking that from Will Ospreay, will defend against Dragon Lee, Ryu Lee, whatever is your preference. And this has been a heated rivalry as Hiromu said, like, okay, now that the nice welcome is over, I want you. And I pretty much think it's kind of like he wants payback against Ryu Lee. Ryu Lee is also doing a lot of great stuff in Ring of Honor as he's currently the World Television Champion for Ring of Honor as well. So it'll be really interesting to see where they go from here. I don't think Takahashi will drop the belt. And if he did, obviously there will be a rematch and it'll be good. I just hope they're careful with his neck.
Yeah, no dragon plexus.
No dragon plexus anymore, for the love of God. Please.
Yeah.
Do you remember when that happened like 2 years ago?
Yeah.
I was watching it live on TV because it was their special from the Cow Palace.
Yeah.
And I remember I saw that. I was like, oh my God, like, what the fuck? Like the way he landed, just skated on his fucking forehead. Ugh.
He still finished the match.
Still,
Yeah.
and he won.
I think he also said he lost feeling in his entire body during for a second.
Yeah.
And then he just got it back and just finished the match. It's some crazy story like that. It's like he actually lost feeling from his neck down.
That's
Not a good
insane.
sign. Yeah.
Just absolutely insane. And then of course, the match that I'm most forward to looking, I'm beyond stoked for this. Jon Moxley versus Minoru Suzuki in what I hope will be just a savage street fight. I hope it'll be. And I think it will. It has the potential to be a match of the year candidate. We'll see.
Yeah. It's going to be a bunch of this is not like a No, it's not. It's just a regular match, right? I thought
No,
it was
no, no.
gonna be
It's
like
no,
like
it's
a
for the
hardcore match or
no,
something.
it's not a hardcore match. It
Yeah.
is for the U.S. heavyweight title.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but New Japan refs are pretty light on the 20 count.
Yeah.
Like they'll be outside of the ring
Yeah.
probably for 20 minutes.
If it's an important match, and especially with both these characters, it might as well be a no DQ match. They're not gonna disqualify either of these guys.
that would be really
Because
disappointing.
then, of course, Moxley or Suzuki would just kick the shit out of him.
And then what's crazy is that Moxley also has an eye patch. Like they still followed the thing from AEW. Like it's still.
Yeah, like what's really
into-
cool is that he's even on Instagram. Like some guys went out to dinner and he went out to dinner. He kept the eye patch. He's trying to maintain some form of kayfabe, which I admire
Which is
that
cool.
because that's something that you don't really see a lot of anymore.
Yeah.
So that's really old school and cool of him. But
Who-
that's
who
gonna
you
be
got
an
at
amazing
this?
match. What's that?
Who do you think is gonna win?
What do you think?
Oh, that's a tough one because I'm not like, is Moxley gonna keep coming back to Japan every time, or are they just
I
gonna
think
put the belt
so.
on Suzuki? Yeah, I mean he was in the whole tour, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he seems friendly with everybody. Like he's getting along with everybody and enjoying it. So
That's why I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't know. So I'd say
I'm gonna say Suzuki.
Suzuki.
I think it's gonna be a shock.
Yeah.
Not that it's a shock because Suzuki can't beat him. I just think I'm torn. I'm just torn, and I think it's gonna go Suzuki. But I'm probably gonna be wrong.
I'm probably with Suzuki too, and then probably leave Moxley out unless he's doing the New Japan Cup. Leave him off until like Dominion or something.
Absolutely.
I don't know. That's
because-
a lot of travel.
A lot of travel. I mean, Moxley said like he loves coming to Japan,
Yeah.
and he likes the fact that he wrestles once a week in the States and then goes back to Japan. I don't think it's any worse than he did in WWE. Ultimately,
No, that's true.
So I don't know. It might work. And then finally, the IWGP Heavyweight and Intercontinental Double Title match. Mr. Two Belts himself, Tetsuya Naito, against the biggest bastard in Japanese pro wrestling, Kenta, the despicable Kenta. They've done a great job building these two and having them talk trash backstage. We'll see how this goes. I don't think Kenta will win, but I think Kenta might very well disqualify himself and just kick the shit out of Naito. Kind of set up like something that's unanswered.
See, I don't know, because New Japan is kind of notorious with these. Like, that's kind of how Okada came back when he came back from Excursion. He challenged Tanahashi right after Wrestle Kingdom and beat him on his first try. They're like notoriously for booking that.
Yeah, true.
And that scares me so much because I love Naito. So I'm like, oh, that would be such a weak reign. Like, I feel like he needs to, hold that.
Hold it
belt.
for like at least 6 months.
Yeah.
Something.
you know what's crazy though?
No.
That Kenta, then they were saying this on commentary, that Kenta mentioned that if he wins, he really didn't want the heavyweight title, that Naito could just keep it, like he doesn't care. Now he'll rather keep the intercontinental belt, and then that he's gonna wait. He said he's gonna wait for him to show up, and I think when he was saying that, he was referring to Shibata, and I think that would be interesting too, like have him just keep the intercontinental and just face Shibata later. That'd be pretty cool.
I guess they're hinting at it that Shibata might still potentially return.
That'd be interesting.
Because I mean, the fact is that if
It'd be
Edge was able to return from the Rumble, I mean, granted that was 9 years
Yeah.
of a lot of rehabilitation and different types of therapies, and he was able to come back and get cleared to wrestle, even though it's going to be on an obviously limited schedule. Who's to say that Shibata hasn't been doing the same? Because I mean, I still see pictures of Shibata. He's still very much in shape.
Yeah.
It's not like he's just been putting weight and not doing anything.
Got that LA dojo.
Yeah.
He runs the LA dojo, and I'm pretty sure he works out alongside his students. And
So what was it? His main issue was concussions, right?
it was basically what had happened after his match with Okada several years ago when he did that stiff headbutt.
Mhm.
He had a contusion
Mhm.
in his and he gave himself a concussion, but it was a contusion. He was basically bleeding internally in his brain.
Snap.
So he could have died. He could have
Yeah.
very well have died. So for me, when that happened,
Mhm.
they pretty much said like, yeah, you're done, like no more.
Yeah.
But then there's been hints this past couple of months that he's going to come back, especially when he attacked Kenta, when Kenta, turned heel. So I don't know.
I mean, it could be a good tie-in to just to go back to that Shibata feud and everything. But I don't think he's going to willingly give off a title if he already has two of them. If he wins,
Yeah,
I don't think he'll do that.
I think that'd be kind of a weird, dumb move.
Yeah.
Absolutely, but I don't know. We'll see. I still say Naito will retain.
Yeah.
Naito will retain either by a DQ or by he'll win, but he'll barely win because everybody in Bullet Club wants to like cheat and get involved.
Yeah.
It'll be some sort of like sloppy finish. But it'll kind of leave the door open for Kenta, fighting Naito again down the road.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited. It's a stacked card. It's going to be awesome. But on that note, ladies and gentlemen, before we go on to the next segment, I just want to say, if you guys have any suggestions, please get in touch with us on Tiger Driver Radio, anywhere on social media, because we're always looking for ideas. But with new ideas, also, there comes a need for a necessity of innovation. We celebrate wrestling. We love wrestling. And on that note, we are going to introduce a segment every week called the Japanese Wrestling Word of the Week to educate all you fans out there about Japanese wrestling. If you don't know, we're going to teach you, because you know what? Japanese wrestling deserves to be respected and learned. And on that note, we welcome you to our brand new segment, the Japanese Wrestling Word of the Week. Konbanwa. Today's word of the week is puro resu. I repeat, it is puro resu. It is the predominant style of professional wrestling that is developed in Japan. The term comes from the Japanese pronunciation of professional wrestling, which is shortened to puro resu. The term became popular among English-speaking fans due to Hisaru Tanabe's activities in the online Usenet community, growing out of origins in the tradition of U.S. style of wrestling. It has become an entity in itself. Japanese pro wrestling is distinct in its psychology and presentation of the sport. It is treated as a legitimate fight. And this is called puro resu.
Puro resu.
Puro resu.
The first time you said it, I was like, in Spanish, I was like, puro recio. I was like,
Puro
What
recio.
is that?
Really loud. I feel like every time you say puro resu, you gotta kick somebody in the chest.
Puro resu, just yeah. See, I'm slapping myself in the chest right now, man. Oh my god, ouch. But yeah, like I said, we want to introduce any new segments. Puro resu, the word of the week. If you have any words of the week that you want us to talk about, let us know on social media, man. And on that note, man, let's get to the indie and just random news around the wrestling world. Let's do it. Alrighty, man. We're cooking. And like I said earlier in the show, Joey Janela's spring break announced during Super Bowl Sunday that, man, Orange Cassidy against Minoru Suzuki at Joey Janela's spring break. My God, does somebody have a fucking death wish? I don't know how they're gonna do this, because even when back in 2 years ago during the G1, when Suzuki fought up against God, who was that wrestler that he fought against, the comedic guy from Chaos?
Toru or
Yano.
Yeah.
When he fought up against Yano, he did kick the shit out of Yano.
Mhm.
Like, granted, Yano, of course, taped him to the fucking guardrail and pinned him technically on paper. But yeah, he kicked the shit out of Yano. Like, I remember they finally had a singles match and it only lasted 6 minutes, and it was pretty much Suzuki just like roundhouse kicking him in the chest for like 3 minutes, and then after that just like chasing him. But for the most part, he kicked the shit out of Yano, and I'm thinking, well, how the hell are they going to pull this match off between Orange Cassidy versus Minoru Suzuki? It just seems.
I just want to see Suzuki play into his Orange Cassidy style for a little bit, just for a couple seconds, for a minute or two, and then
that, or he's gonna just laugh his ass off. Like, really? Like, this is what you're gonna do?
I enjoy. I saw a match once on YouTube. It was Minoru Suzuki, and I forget who he was fighting. I don't know, but it was like DDT guy. I don't know. It was Sodomy Dino or some random guy from DDT.
Yeah.
And they were fighting in the Tokyo Dome, and it was supposed to be, oh yeah, DDT's finally in the Tokyo Dome. But the thing was, it was still a baseball field.
Yeah.
It was such.
I saw that.
It was such a fun match. It's like he's just kicking his ass, throwing him downstairs. I guess I have to touch all the bases and get to home to win. It was fun.
I did see that because like there was they also had like a all out brawl. I don't know if it was the same card or not, but it was like Minoru Suzuki, Meiko Satomura, and like Jun Kasai against like guys from DDT, and it was like they were all fighting in the baseball diamond, and they still all had their entrance gear on. Like nobody took their entrance gear off, which DDT is fucking brilliant. So Minoru Suzuki does have a sense of humor, clearly, for him to do this. But still, like, everyone's thinking, "Oh my God, Orange Cassidy's gonna fucking die."
Yeah, I'm interested to see how this match goes.
I'll say this much: it'll be a nice little break after he has his war against Chris Dickinson the night before, doing a shoot fight. So, I think maybe he could use the break.
Be pretty sore from the next day.
Absolutely, man. And then on more news, like I said, one thing that I got to say, MLW is making moves, man. 2 bits of news. Number one, they have finally decided to partner up with Dragon Gate out of Japan, which Dragon Gate was the home of Shingo Takagi, was the home of Akira Tozawa. You know, Pac was formerly their Open the Dream Gate champion prior to his time in AEW. So Dragon Gate has, and also it was also the home for Ricochet prior to his time in New Japan Pro Wrestling. So Dragon Gate, in my opinion, has always kind of been a little bit of the head of the curve in terms of housing and showcasing a lot of high flying and super athletic type wrestling, as you can see with some of their alumni. So they've partnered up not only with Dragon Gate, but on March 13th, they have also teamed up with AAA to host a show in Tijuana, Mexico. And they were co-producing the show. And it'll feature some of the bigger names from MLW on a AAA show, which is really exciting, man. And I almost feel like in some indirect way, MLW is working with All Elite with some of the talent they share. Because obviously, you know, they have Jimmy Havoc, you know, MJF is a big name. And of course, they have Priscilla Kelly, who's kind of like a loose contractor between both. But it's really interesting how a lot of companies are actually able to kind of peacefully coexist amongst themselves. Yeah. So I'm really excited to see what MLW does.
No, I was going to say a lot of promotions seems like they're just grabbing Japanese promotions before anybody else gets them.
Yeah.
You know,
like Impact is with Noah, and then now MLW with Dragon Gate, and then what's the other one? Well, the only one I haven't heard anything about is really DDT, but then you had Kenny Omega that appeared in
DDT,
in DDT, and also in OWE promoting DDT or saying that he was going to be in DDT. So
well, the funny thing is about DDT is that now DDT is currently owned in conjunction with Pro Wrestling Noah.
Yeah,
because the president who runs DDT also purchased Pro Wrestling Noah, which was a power move to block WWE from purchasing Noah, because Noah was getting looked at as kind of like they were going to purchase Noah to be a home base for NXT Japan. That got ruined. You know, obviously New Japan's not going to sell their company. They're on fire right now. They want to compete. Noah's been purchased by by the company that basically owns, like I talked about last week. So Noah and DDT are under the same umbrella, which they'll be doing like shows together as well and exchanging talent amongst themselves, as well as now working with potentially Impact. Big Japan Pro Wrestling has been looked at, but Big Japan Pro Wrestling, I feel like, are hesitant to sell their company. And so it just shows you that if WWE wants to take over Japan, it's not going to be easy.
Yeah. It's
not going to be easy at all, because I feel like it's very territorial there.
Yeah, the culture there too for business wise, like if you're not,
if you're not one of them
or made in Japan, like it's kind of it's kind of hard to start off there.
Absolutely. With that also being said, with Japan, Davey Boy Smith of MLW also announced today that he will be returning to Japan soon. He can't announce what company, but he will be returning to do a special match in Japan very shortly. So I'm excited to see what's in store for him. I personally think just much like Lance Archer has had a successful singles run since breaking from the Killer Elite Squad, I want to see Davey Boy Smith have a successful run in Japan as well. I think right now is prime time when Davey Boy Smith needs to start I mean, he definitely obviously won the cup in MLW recently, the Opera Cup. I'm really excited to see if he's able to do anything special in Japan as well, because I feel like especially his style works perfectly in Japan.
And you know he loves it there too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So-
Like I said, he even said in an interview he ultimately didn't want to leave New Japan Pro Wrestling, but they kind of were underutilizing him and underpaying him and kind of just bullshitting him in terms of booking. So he's like, all right, well, I don't need to put up with this then. I'll just stay in the States for a while then. That's fine.
Yeah, him and Elgin, I think, kind of left at the same time, right? For the same reasons.
Being underutilized and starting to get underpaid and underbooked. So they're like, all right, well, I don't need to be here then.
Yeah, when MLW is a star, I mean, I think he's potentially the next in line for the heavyweight title.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I mean, Samiao, there is Joseph Samiao.
Yeah.
Or the champion,
Fatu.
Fatu.
yeah.
Fatu. I forget it. I get them confused all the time. They're always together. Fatu's kind of been dominating everybody that's challenged them, and kind of needs a big guy.
I
So,
think Davey Boy Smith is the next guy to kind of be the legitimate challenge for that title. But like I said, MLW is making power moves, man. Do not sleep on this company. I think they're a very fun company. When I watch MLW, it feels very much like ECW, like back in the 90s. It has a little bit of the violence, a lot of the lucha, a lot of, Japanese strong style, like appeal to it, because a lot of wrestlers do wrestle that style. They're low key, being one of them, obviously. And there's a lot of young and up and coming talent that is starting to develop there. Brian Pillman Jr., amongst many others. Obviously the Von Erichs are improving all the time. So I just think it's a very colorful and fun promotion. And I think, considering that they're only on for an hour every week, they maximize their hour.
Yeah.
They absolutely maximize their hour, which is something I think that AEW could learn a little bit from, is to maximize their talent a little bit better and make it coherent, make it consistent. But that's another conversation for another time.
I mean, to be completely frank with you, and a lot of people that we know, with the people we talk to in our wrestling groups, they're going to hate me for this. But with what you just said, as far as the promotions I enjoy right now, my number one is New Japan, and then after that is MLW, and then NWA, and then at least is AEW.
Yeah.
And then everything else after that.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. Like for me, it's like, obviously New Japan is always my number one. It's always been my number one for a long time now. So you have your New Japan for me. I go back and forth between MLW and whenever I can, watching Noah.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's NWA, MLW, and AEW. The thing is, I'm not bored with AEW. I'm not saying AEW is WWE for me. No, God, no. Yeah. I just think that AEW needs to do a bit of a better job in terms of booking and making me interested and invested, because I'm invested, but I'm only invested in certain parts of the show. I think they need to utilize their undercard better. That's just what I'm saying. And I think they need to do a better job in scripting their matches for some of their people. Not some of their people are great and they're going to work great, but not everybody's on that level. Not everybody's the Young Bucks. Not everybody's Kenny Omega. Not everybody's Cody. Not everybody is a mic talker like MJF. Not everybody is an amazing tag team like the Lucha Brothers. Not everybody has the natural charisma of like an Orange Cassidy. So you got to develop a lot of your undercard.
Yeah, I think one thing with AEW watching, because in the beginning, I mean, you can make excuses for them. They're just starting off. It's a fresh show. You can't. But now at this point, they've been around like 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, there's some certain things that I need to start seeing. That's not quite happening just yet. I feel like they have amazing women's wrestlers, but it's kind of falling flat a little bit for me.
They got to find something to do for everybody. Kind of.
Exactly.
That's what.
Highlight the strengths. Hide the weaknesses, because I feel like too many weaknesses are still showing.
So I completely agree with that.
Absolutely.
You're my boy, Blue.
And on that note, another thing that is just shocking to me and interesting is both Killer Cross and Timothy Thatcher, two wrestlers who I've been very high of, both signed with WWE, as announced yesterday, at the time of this recording, announced yesterday on the backstage.
That's lame.
Show. And I'm sorry, I think it's fucking lame. I agree. It's fucking lame. I'm not at this point, what's really interesting about the E is the fact that they just lost their two biggest, basically CEOs and people who run that company have been fired abruptly. Their stock has gone down. They've decreased house shows this year because they want to give talent, more rest. But then also they're losing money on house shows. They have been for the past couple of years. Like people just they're not really invested in going to house shows like they used to anymore for WWE. Some talent are very upset that, oh, we're not getting paid as much. Well, obviously you can't get paid as much if the house shows aren't happening, because that's another form. It's a revenue stream. Also, merchandise is down for the first time in a couple of years. And I feel like the interest in WWE is slowly decreasing, like genuinely decreasing. And I don't mean, and the thing is, they're going to be okay ultimately. They're not going anywhere. WWE is never going to fold. WWE is like the NFL and the NBA. There's going to be ups and downs of that company, and that's that. They're part of the Americana, the fabric of Americana. But the fact is that it just comes to show you that I think people are genuinely tired of their product, which is why do you have so many other strong options? MLW is growing. NWA is looking amazing right now. For what it's worth, AEW, with all the criticisms we have of AEW, the fact is that while every show they might not be a complete sellout, I noticed in that crowd, every show, there's a little bit more people in that crowd every week. Outside of bigger cities. I mean, obviously New York and New Jersey, you're going to sell it out.
Yeah.
DC, you're going to sell it out. LA, Las Vegas, Chicago, you're going to sell it out. But I mean, these smaller cities, even though there are some empty seats up there, I notice every week. You got to admit, and I'm wrong. It's factual. You see it. Those chairs are getting filled more and more every week in these smaller cities because they're starting to grow. And for what it's worth, criticisms aside, AEW has done one good thing that some of these companies are not doing, and that's cater and garner a fan base, cultivate a fan base, fan service. They're say what you will about what they're doing wrong. The one thing they're doing right is they're able to actually cater to a fan base and show and talk to these fans as if they care about their opinions, because they do. They absolutely do. I mean, at the end of the day, I think that was the beginning. In the beginning, they always said that they themselves were fans first and wanted to provide a product where fans felt like they weren't being talked down to. I think now fans are just a little critical because they know that these guys are capable of better. That's all.
I'm interested to see how the AEW live experience is going to be, because just having them in town and going to a show live is a way different feeling than watching it on TV. You know, on TV, you just kind of, you're at home, you're kind of watching it happen. But when you're there live and the crowd's really into it, that's when you really get that.
No, absolutely. I completely agree. Which, by the way, I know next week we will be in AEW live in Austin. So we'll have to reschedule our podcast.
That's a good point.
It's a very good point.
We should do a live PCast from there while we're in the audience.
So like I said, I think it's safe to say that what we'll do is next week we'll air on Tuesday, and then the following week we'll be back on normal schedule, and we'll talk about our experience at AEW's event. In Austin. And like I said, AEW has done a good job at cultivating a fan base organically, because they're basically converting those fans that are jaded from the WWE and saying, hey, come over here. Come over here. We got something for you. We have production value. We have names. And it's not to say that AEW isn't doing good things. There is a lot of good things they're doing. Mm-hmm. I just know they can do better. That's all.
Yeah.
And with that being said, Killer Kross and Timothy Thatcher both signed to WWE. Killer Kross is an amazing talent. Talk about a guy that knows how to tell a story. He knows how to promote himself. He's a fucking monster in the fucking ring. Like, he has that intensity that Vince McMahon is all about. He's a technical wrestler in his own right. He's a big guy, but he can throw down when he wants to. So for me, I'm excited to see how they're going to use Killer Kross. Whether they're going to use him properly or use him effectively, that is yet to be seen. We'll see. But I am very excited to see what they say. One thing that I am shocked about is the fact that they signed Timothy Thatcher, who is probably one of the most talented technical wrestlers to come out of England in the past 10 years, outside of Zack Sabre Jr. He has a very hard-nosed, hard-hitting style, very ugly style, very old school. And I love that, but that doesn't necessarily translate to WWE audiences. So I wonder if it's a matter of just having a tough guy around in NXT, and eventually they'll transition him to a training role, because he is 36 years old. And granted, he probably will have 8 to 10 more years of more in-ring time, potentially. But I just find it really interesting that they signed Thatcher, because, like I said, he has a very savage and ugly style of wrestling, and it doesn't quite translate to a Monday Night Raw kid-friendly audience.
Yeah. or just like a weekly match deal for him. Like that's his body too. So
Yeah,
if
exactly.
he has those type of matches every week, he's gonna
Kill himself.
Yeah. So yeah, I wonder what they're gonna do. Maybe they'll just have it to like a special NXT kind of deal.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I think guys like Drew Gulak
Mhm.
don't necessarily translate well
Yeah.
because they're a smash mouth submission style wrestling, but to an American average kid who watches Raw, that style doesn't appeal to them.
Maybe he's going to the UK. NXT
Maybe you go to
UK.
the UK brand, which I think he would fit perfectly there.
That makes
You know,
more
have him build up there. But well, we'll see. Good luck to them both. I'm a little bummed out. I would have liked to have seen it, both of them be with other companies. But hey, you got to go where the money is. They got bills to pay. Who am I to say? Who am I to criticize? I probably would have done the same shit. You know, and then of course, another thing of controversy. Adam Blampier from What Culture Wrestling. Do you remember that name? Adam Blampier?
I remember Adam from World Culture.
Yeah, Adam. Well, remember a couple years ago, he was part of What Culture, and then he was part of that team of people from What Culture that left to form, Cultaholic.
Yeah.
Prior to the launch of Cultaholic, Adam was involved in a bit of a controversy. He was apparently soliciting a lot of sex from different fans, women, and kind of cheating on his girlfriend at the time, and basically kind of using his little internet fame to kind of use his way to like talk to girls. This got found out. He admitted himself that yes, I've been harassing women and I'm ashamed. I got a problem, and he admitted that he was a sex addict. So he pretty much removed himself from Cultaholic. Cultaholic had a delay in launching because of it, so it kind of ruined Cultaholic's launch at first, and he kind of disappeared. He kind of disappeared off the internet. Maybe a couple sporadic tweets, nothing. Lately, he's been appearing on Wrestle Talk, which is, in my opinion, there's, in terms of like wrestling shows, you have What Culture, Cultaholic, and then Wrestle Talk is kind of like that number 3 wrestling show on
Tiger
YouTube.
Driver number 4.
Tiger Driver's number 4. Trying to be number 1. But yeah, and then he's apparently signed with Wrestle Talk to work for them now. Which, it's been a couple years since his controversy that he had where he was, harassing women online, which I am very vocal against, any sort of harassment of any way, shape, or form. But according to him, he said that he's kind of gotten help, whatever else. We'll have to wait and see. Kind of weird, but hey, controversy generates interest. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how Wrestle Talk is going to be formatted, knowing that there's still a lot of, controversy surrounding Adam's past. Who am I to judge? But, like I said, I'm also a big proponent of, you don't harass people, and, I don't know. I don't really want to go too much into that topic on this show, but I should say that I just find it very interesting that they signed him to be part of their YouTube channel. How do you navigate that?
Yeah.
I personally
big
would.
elephant in the room.
Yeah, me personally, I wouldn't have even touched it.
Yeah.
That's just my
Don't even
opinion.
touch it.
I'm like, nah, dude, sorry. If you want to go do a wrestling thing, you got to do your own thing. You're not coming on my show. But that's just me.
Yeah.
But it's like I said, a little bit of interesting news.
What if our Tiger Driver radio show gets so big in 10 years, which probably not, but hopefully I'm wrong. In 10 years, and then from all three of us, who would you think would be the one with controversy? Probably me. And then I go out and form my own podcast.
Why you?
I don't know.
I would think it'd be me, probably because I offended somebody because,
Yeah.
I got a big mouth sometimes. I would feel like it would be me. I'd be the one to get kicked off the show first because I got a big fucking mouth. Man. But on that note, man, you got anything else?
No, we just go for our new segment.
Yeah, finally, before we go, kids, and before we go to this segment, tell them, where can they find us on social media?
Social media on Facebook. We're on Tiger Driver Radio. Twitter, we are on Tiger Driver Rad1. That's RAD1. Instagram, also Tiger Driver Radio. Or email us at tigerdriverradio@gmail.com.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. And to close out every segment of every week, one of us every week will pick a wrestler to be highlighted on this show. Now, the most important thing is that we always talk a big game about how much you should appreciate wrestling outside of the E. But part of that means, giving you promotions. Say, hey, go check out this match. Go check out this promotion. We are going to do one even better. We are going to individually highlight wrestlers that we think you need to know about. That whether they're somewhat popular, they got a little bit of buzz, they're unknowns. There's a lot of amazing talent out there these days. And one thing that I'm really happy about is this week, Game Changer Wrestling is doing their tour of Japan. They just did the Art of War show earlier this morning. Should be out on the Fight TV app later on today, if not right now, actually. And one of the matches that I'm looking forward to will be, of course, Chris Dickinson, who I'm very high on, against Big Japan Pro Wrestling ace Daisuke Sekimoto, who has been kind of like a workhorse traveling man's wrestler in Japan, wrestled for everybody from 0-1, Big Japan Pro Wrestling, All Japan Pro Wrestling, has made a lot of different appearances in the United States, has wrestled Walter in WXW. In fact, Walter considers him one of his best friends. And they, of course, they've held tag titles together. Daisuke Sekimoto is the prime example of just a big fucking horse of a wrestler. Like, just a ball of muscle. He is a ball of muscle, synonymous with the classical strong style wrestling. There's nothing flashy about the way he wrestles. Lots of stiff, clotheslines, power bombs, slams. He is the embodiment of like that mid 90s classic All Japan King's Road style. And I cannot stress enough that Daisuke Sekimoto is, in fact, tragically overlooked and underrated, only simply because he has not signed to one of the bigger Japanese companies. But with that being said, he has still garnered a reputation as one of the strongest and most like just aggressive wrestlers in Japanese professional wrestling. So what we're going to do, with that being said, later on our social media, we will of course link a match of Daisuke Sekimoto, which last year, while wrestling for Big Japan Pro Wrestling, this is during the time in which Michael Elgin left New Japan Pro Wrestling. He, of course, did a few dates with Big Japan Pro Wrestling in August of last year. Michael Elgin against Daisuke Sekimoto. Talk about a hard-hitting and just no bullshit kind of classic wrestling match between two big fucking monsters of men. Go check that out. We'll include the link in our social media, so you can go catch it on YouTube, and we'll of course post clips on our Instagram a little bit later. But of course, go out there right now and check him out. Daisuke Sekimoto, our wrestler to be showcased for this week, and continue to expect more of this as we want to showcase some of the best talent from around the world that we think you should know. And on that note, anything else, guys?
No, I'm good.
Cool.
That was very good.
Yeah. And on that note, man,
That's it.
I'm out of here. Enjoy pro wrestling, kids. Until next week. Remember, we will be live next Tuesday, not Wednesday, Tuesday. Same time. Same time. Of course, it'll be 5 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Eastern. Join us once again for Tiger Driver Radio next Tuesday
On Podbean.
And anywhere else that you can. Like I said, you can download. We're on demand. We're on, everything. Apple Music, YouTube, Podbean. Where else am I forgetting? Spotify.
Stitcher.
Like I said, if you can't catch us live, you can download us. iHeartRadio. Exactly.
Yeah.
Let your mom know. Let your dad know that they should be listening to us when it comes to pro wrestling. Your grandma.
If you want to Rep Pro and chill or Spotify and chill.
That's not me. I'm not saying that. But on that note, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy pro wrestling. Until next week, peace.
Later.
Goodbye and good night.